Welcome back, you big bunch of fucking nerds, and this is my channel. We're talking about Deadhouse Gates today, book 2 of the Malazan Book of the Fallen, and let's get right into it. So, Empress Lysine, last book, kicked Duiker one arm out of the army. He's like this great fucking general or whatever, right? And we don't know this completely right now at the beginning of the book, but I'm explaining it so that it makes sense to maybe somebody else, and also so I can make sense of it myself. I've read this book twice now and still am puzzling shit out, which is what I love about this series. But okay, she kicked him out because there are corpse fucking undead people on the south part of Guinea-Bacchus. So remember in book 1 where we were on Guinea-Bacchus, we were in Darujistan and wherever else. And it's on the south of that continent, there is an army, the Panyan Doman. And these are like people like, I think like they come from the crippled god, like initiated them somehow. Anyhow, it doesn't matter. They go out onto the field and the women fuck dying soldiers and then take that seed and then have children. Those are called the children of the dead seed. Holy shit. I was listening to that part in the car on my first read through / listen through of Deadhouse Gates. I was listening to that scene in the car, in my carpool on the way to work with my friend who rode with me. He was just like, what the fuck are you listening to? Because it was very descriptive, but like so good. Like that's what I love about Erikson's writing is he'll make a bunch of he'll have like a bunch of dense shit that he's like, you don't understand it, you will, but don't worry about it, but I'm gonna give it to you here, so that way you have it here. And then like he'll get to like a scene like that and just give it to you so perfect. The delivery is so perfect. The visuals are complete in your head. It's so fucked up. And anyway, so that's the threat that we're up against. So Lysine was like, oh shit, like I can't just face this with my Malazan empire. I need outside help from like a dude with a moon castle that floats through the sky and shoots fucking lasers, and a guy with a huge hammer that can wake the sleeping goddess that is the earth, that lives under the earth, the tennis warren, whatever trippy shit. that all goes, flows to the chart of the Warrens. Somebody drew a chart of the Warrens and I looked at it and I was like, maybe I'm going to figure this out. And then I stopped looking at it. I don't want to figure it out. Anyway, so that's why Lysine kicked Duiker out last book. In case you're wondering why, she just nixed one of her greatest fucking military minds. It's because she was like, okay, now you're going to go and you're going to go make allies with our enemy. Because remember, Guards of the Moon, Animator Rake and Caladan Brood, Moon Castle guy, Hammer guy, they were against the Malazan Empire. And the Taistandi, Animator Rake's people, were only against the Malazans, like colonialization of places because they're like bored and depressed and eternally just alive. Just kind of drifting around their moon forge, just like, I don't know what to do. Maybe we should stop colonialism. It's one of my favorite things about their fucking motivation. Anyway, so that's why Duiker, he's got an ally with these two ascendants that are powerful enough to face together with the bridge burners and Duiker's army, whatever it is. They have to fight these corpse fucking undead people. So yeah, I mean, wouldn't you also politically maneuver in such a way, kick the guy out, but he's still on your side, but he's joining with your enemies? And goddamn, man, like that's the stuff that like takes me books and many Wikipedias to puzzle out, which like I said, that's like, I love that about this series, but it's definitely hard to understand. Which brings me to my next point, which is Coltaine. So Coltaine is a Wiccan from Seven Cities. That's the continent we're on in Deadhouse Gates, Seven Cities, and it's just basically all desert in my head all the time, even though there's forests randomly throughout. I don't know, Black Dog Forest. I think that's on Guinevere. It doesn't matter. There's forests, there's green stuff, you know, and every time there's green on the page, I'm like, this is desert. Why is there a tree? Why are we describing a tree? You know, which obviously the continent can have more than just desert, but in my head, that's all it is. And it's like the cover, it's a bunch of things. But anyway, so Coltaine is a Wiccan, but he's also a Malazan something big, general captain something. He's not a captain. I don't know what the fuck Coltaine is. He's the leader of the chain of dogs. He's the champion of refugees. Anyway, that's it. Much like the Empress Lacine, like political intrigue stuff with Duiker. I like have a hard time understanding. I still don't completely understand Coltaine's thing. Might take another read of the book to understand it completely. But basically what I think is that Coltaine is a Malazan, but that's because of the colonialization of Seven Cities. And so then it was just like, well, fuck, I gotta join up because that's the new job. Like, you know, the warehouse comes to town and you're like, you're still from your small town, but this corporate place comes and you're like, well, it's paying more than anything here. And it's how everybody's functioning. So I'm gonna fucking go and work there, even though I'm still like a Wiccan or whatever from the small town. So basically that's Coltaine's thing. And then there's like a rebellion against the Malazans from some force. And I cannot remember what it is, guys. Like, I know that the whirlwind and like the Shaik reborn, like those people are, and I keep thinking that it's them that were fighting against Coltaine. Somebody help me in the comments. But there's somebody who Coltaine keeps running into the whole time and fighting against. And I think that they're rebelling against the Malazan Empire influence in Seven Cities. And they kill whoever it is. Like, they kill Malazans on sight. To be Malazan is to be you're fucking dead if you run into these people. I don't remember who it is, but I think one of them is named Pormqual. Whatever. That's the thing that I have a hard time with Coltaine about, is I don't understand. I'm like, oh, he's a Wiccan horse lord and he's loyal to his people, but like, also he's this Malazan general guy. And that's the best way that I can like kind of think about it in my head, is that small town guy, corporate business comes to town, he's still loyal, but he's like, I'm gonna go work for the big business. I'm repeating myself now. That's what I think when I think of Coltaine, and I could be completely fucking wrong. But I also, like, here's the thing about Coltaine, guys. This is gonna be unpopular opinion because people fuck hard for Coltaine, and I just do not. Like, the first read through, that was one of the things that threw me off, because I was like listening to podcasts as it was going along, and people were like, oh, Coltaine, oh man, you know, oh fuck yeah, he's so badass. I'm like, oh my god, when he dies, that's so sad. I was crying, and I'm like, I did not cry when he got hung from a cross, or any of the other people that got hung from the crosses. I was like, this is a fucking heavy metal scene, bro. You know, like, it's just like the corpse fucking undead people. Like, I was just like, oh, this is badass fantasy shit. I like him. I like when he screams, Wiccans ride. I think that's outside of the gates of Erin. Yeah, there's a lot of cool shit, but I was more like attracted to the mages, and I'm not sure if Bottle. I think Bottle's in this. I know Bottle in later books becomes like one of my favorites, but I don't think it's Bottle yet. I think it was Nil and Nether, the kids. Yeah, I think that they do this thing with a horse where they kill the horse, they slaughter it, and then they use its blood to make the other horses faster. There's something along those lines, but it's fucking amazing. Like, that shit I love. The Coltaine military stuff I don't always jive with, just because it kind of overwhelms me. But I know that it's like necessary, and I like it because it makes me feel, it pulls me into the world more. It gives that level of this channel's gonna be famous for me not being able to say verisimilitude. But I know what the word means, goddammit. But it gives that level where, okay, I'm in a real world, I'm part of this military, whatever, and then that makes, you able to then juxtapose that with like this crazy magical shit, or this, you slaughter this horse, you use its blood to do this crazy miracle thing. And then you're like, whoa, you're even more blown away. And those are the things that I look forward to in these books. That's why I got addicted to reading Malazan books, is because of the density and the difficulty, and then the reward you get. It's like when I was a drug addict, 9 years ago. I was a heroin addict, 11 years ago. And you do anything. And if somebody was like, the only way that you can get high is if you walk to St. Louis, which is a 2-hour drive or whatever, is if you walk there and you take 3 or 4 days, however long it takes you, that's the only way you're going to get high. Then I would have absolutely done that. And that sounds, but then once I got there and did get high, it would have been one of the best ones ever. I would have remembered it forever. I have memories of like specific highs that were like that, where it was like, oh man, I waited days for this guy to rip me off, and then for somebody else to like come through. Good fucking ball. I was crying then. Don't cry when Coltaine gets hung from a cross, but crying when it takes you 2 days to get high. Anyway, that's kind of what like these situations in the Malazan books are like for me, where I know how good it's gonna be when I get to that part where there's the undead dragon flying through the warren, toward Felison on the ship with the beheaded Teist Andy that are still rowing because of some sorcery. Like, I'm gonna get to that scene, and it's gonna stick with me the rest of my life, and it completely changed the way that I write, that I read, it's gonna, and it would do that whether I was going through like this dense stuff beforehand. Yeah, I truly believe that. Like, it is top tier shit. But the thing is that he puts the top tier shit, you gotta get there. Not always. Like, sometimes it starts off like just fucking going. I remember The Bone Hunters is like that, book 6. Books 9 and 10, I feel like, have a lot of that in them too. And there are just tons of moments like that throughout the series. It is really cool, though, that we have this kind of juxtaposition with Coltaine, where he is the small town warrior, plainsman, whatever. But he also represents Empire. We have a similar thing to like Adjunct Lauren in the first book, where we were talking about like, her as a person who, the Empire came and affected and hurt, and like she has that thing with Tattersail. With Coltaine, we have the same kind of like, I don't want to call it a dilemma because I feel like Coltaine handles it maybe better than Lorne did. But Coltaine, he takes on the nobility, refugees that get attacked by these, whoever the fuck. But he's also taking his Wiccans with him. So we have this like great, I don't know, like vessel for compassion, where he's not just turning the nobility away when the nobility are like spoiled little shits. Like he's like, no, you don't get treated different. You don't get treated better. We're gonna get the women and children across first, whatever. And the nobility are like, no, we're entitled. We're supposed to. I think that's a really cool. At least on this read, I did not pick that up on the last read, and I feel like a lot of those themes of compassion and kind of juxtaposition come in, like with the Talana Mass and Jagut in book 1 and throughout the series. We've got the loners versus the not hive mind, but you know, the mass, the Talana mass. But we have the compassion for the corporate business that comes to town, and I just love that so much, because it really, there's no right or wrong, and I think that at least that's how I perceive the message Erikson is trying to get across, is that like all there is compassion. There is no right or wrong. You have to like, you have to look and like see what that they are also clocking in, like, and watch them clock in, and like how, you know, the nobility are clocking in when they're coming to him and complaining, like, and it feels like Coltaine has that kind of understanding, even though, you know, he's gruff and whatever. He definitely doesn't. It's a show don't tell situation, you know. He shows by carrying them across the continent with him, and then they eventually betray him. But that brings me to Felison, who I love Felison's whole arc. I love her as a character. I love that she's a spoiled shit nobility that stays a spoiled shit throughout, but like just completely fucking loses it too, which probably says more about me than it does about the, you know, the people who like Coltaine. Like, I think maybe I have some problems, but that doesn't matter here. We're on book 2, but we're talking about books. So let's talk about other people. Felison. So Felison is adjunct to Vor's. This is a new adjunct sister, and Gano's parents' sister. And she has to get sent to slave mines, the Ojotero mines, from wherever they live, Malaz City, Pale. It's not Pale. Whatever it is. It's a place. And she gets, because Tavor has to cull the nobility. And this is a thing that is the Malazan Empire is famous for, is culling the nobility. Because, like, you know, Kellanved would do it. The emperor, before Lysine became empress, he would do it in order to, you know, show them kind of equalize and get like these people who are rising in power, like equalize it all out. And at least that's my understanding of it. And so this is another kind of one of those where Lysine is like, nope, we're gonna equal everything out, which is, you know, it's beautiful if you think about it, that she's also doing what Coltaine is doing, which is that equal. We have the Wiccans, we have the corporate people, and we're taking care of both of them. And like Lysine is literally killing people who are like, you're getting a little too high. But I mean, of course, it's a power game, and they're getting too close to her. But if you have compassion for Lysine at all, you understand that like she's got a pretty heavy load, and she has to make choices like, okay, am I the person who can make this choice? And do I perceive that as the best choice for the greater good of the empire, of the people in the empire? And if that perceived greatest good is killing a bunch of nobles who are, you know, potentially going to like enslave, you know, whatever races or something, like, I'm not saying that that's the right thing to do, you know. Hopefully we don't do much culling after we read this book now, okay, guys? Don't get any ideas. But it is a beautiful kind of like it resonates throughout the whole book. We have this equalization, this compassion between the rich and the poor, and yeah, again, just really nailing it home that like that's the only answer to the problem of me and you. The problem of those rich people and me is compassion. Anywho, so Felison, she gets addicted to drugs. She's fucking her way through the Ojotero mines. She gets involved with this guy named Bedin or something. It's not Bedin. Benedict Cumberbatch. And the people who are with her, kind of, and watching over her, but she doesn't know that they're watching over her. Well, she doesn't know that Bowden is watching over her. And Bowden is a Talon, which is like the original, the OG claws, the OG secret assassin force. So that's what Bowden is there for, is Tavor sent him to look after her. So Tavor wasn't really just, she had to send her sister to kind of prove herself, like, no, I'm not playing favorites here. I'm also sending my sister to the slave mines. But she secretly sends this trained assassin with to make sure that Felison is okay. And so at some point, there's a priest called Heberik he's great. He gets his hand cut off or something. He's a high priest of Fenner, the pig god. I think it's pig god. And those three are kind of together, but like Heberik and Bowden are like, Felison, what the fuck is wrong with you? What are you doing? And she's like, I'm fucked up on Durhang, the desert drug. And my guy here, I just have to sleep with him, and then he provides it to me. Anyway, I think Bowden is the one who kills that guy, or no, he doesn't. But there's some like big fire or something that initiates the escape of Felison, Bowden, and Heberik. And then that guy who Felison was sleeping with disappears, and Felison's very upset about this because she has Stockholm syndrome, and she's also a drug addict. So she's like, I just lost my connection, and it's all your fault, Bowden. which is great, and it's very human and very much the way. I mean, I'm not a female, so I don't have like that side of the experience of it. But as far as the emotional, like what I felt from her during that, I had the same feeling, like, dude, you just fucked up my connection. Like, why couldn't you just leave me alone? I had a steady flow of shit, and I've never hurt for it ever. And anyway, at some point, Bowden and Felison have sex. It's weird. And they're both kind of like, well, whatever. And then the other one's like, whatever. And I think he's like, you want it. And she's like, I don't want anything. And she shows him that by doing it. I don't know if I skewed that. I probably did. But listen, guys, it's been like 2 months since I reread this. Finished my reread. And anyway, I'm going to say right now that it was fucking incredible. The end of Deadhouse Gates, like the last third of it, like that, like I couldn't stop reading, and I did not have that experience the first time. The first time I read Deadhouse Gates, I didn't know like what was going on pretty much at all. I remembered some details about Felison because I liked her, liked how fucked up she was, and I remember, like Coltaine being named. I remember the horse getting slaughtered to do whatever it did during the battle. I remember like some big moments, but I did not understand. So this time I was working less to understand bigger picture things, and so I was able to pick up on the minutia, and it was fucking incredible. It's an incredible fucking fantasy novel. And I highly suggest rereading it. Gardens of the Moon, I also suggest rereading. I think that you don't have to. I personally wanted to. And on my second read of Gardens of the Moon, I was like, okay, I fucking get it now with this one. Because at first, Gardens of the Moon 2, I was like soft on. Like very soft on. And then Deadhouse Gates, I was like, it was like the vibe of Deadhouse Gates kept me going through it in the desert, and like when we would get to those big moments. But I would say if you were to reread the series and you wanted to skip over Gardens of the Moon, you'd be okay. But do not skip over Deadhouse Gates. You gotta reread that one, because that's when it really fucking comes to life. Anyway, Felison and Heberik and Bowden, they escape on some ship that's somehow initiated by Duiker, the historian who's over there with Coltaine. And they go on this ship, and I think they go through a warren. They meet Culp, mage. I think they go through a warren, and they end up on the Solanda. I think it's called the Solanda. It's the ship with the headless Tystandi that are just a rowing through this warren, and then there's an undead dragon, and oh my god, it's crazy, and then it like affects them in some way. And I don't know if that's the Odoterral dragon or not. I have not. I think I looked up who that dragon was at one point and knew, but then completely forgot. Anyway, so they go along, and then they walk through the desert, and Haborg, is like, he doesn't have his hands, but his hands start doing like weird crippled god shit. Like they start like, he starts having jade hands, and they will like randomly show up. It's cool as fuck. And then they like come up through the desert and like through the desert sand outside of is it outside of an Azath house? I don't remember where it was, but anyway, Felison becomes Shaik Reborn, and gets some kind of character growth. She gets like a little bit of like wisdom, which later peters out. But the whole time she hates her fucking sister, like whether she's the miserable drug addict or like the kind of like wise god imbued Shaik, she is the two sides of her are completely in agreement with each other that Tavor is the worst. She's the worst. She's an emotionless bitch. That's what Felison thinks about Tavor. And I can't blame her. I do love Tavor, but that's just because I know what I know about Tavor. Anyway, moving on. So then there's the whole time there's like this whirlwind going on. And Kalam, I think he's the reason that Shaik, the original Shaik, died, because he brought the Book of Drishna to her and then it killed her. Something like that. Because some guy he knew gave him the book. It might have been Pearl. I might be wrong about that. But Kalam goes on this great adventure through the desert, and he meets a girl that Manala, and they have like a vibe. Which the first time I read it and got to the end of that, where Shadow Throne just sends him and Manala and a bunch of kids. I don't know where these kids are. We'll get it on the third read through. But he sends them off into the sky. It just teleports them away somewhere to be with each other and with their, I think it's 10,000 kids. Anyway, my favorite part about Kalam in this book is that he goes on this great quest to kill Lasine. And this is why I had my introduction about the Duiker one-arm Lasine element, is because Kalam's whole thing is, fuck you. You turn against the bridge burners, which Kalam is a bridge burner and was a claw before then. You turn against the bridge burners, Duiker one-arm, after all, you give us all the shit jobs. We're like one of the best. Duiker is the best, and then you shit on us like that. Take him out. Kalam didn't know at the time that Lasine was doing this for a reason, and she and Duiker were in cahoots. Anyway, Kalam goes across the desert, and then he goes across, which he's from there, and he's doing it in moccasins, and it's a bunch of cool shit that I'm not going to get into, but I really like the Kalam chapters in this book. And then he gets in a boat, and then a ship, and then the ship takes him to Malaz Island, I think, which is surrounded by sharks. Ship goes down, I don't know, somebody attacks it. And then Kalam has to swim with his two knives, I'm pretty sure, to the shore. And I don't remember if he fights a shark, but in my head he fights a shark, and that's pretty cool. But then he's going through the city, and this guy that was on the ship with him was actually fucking Pearl, and Pearl is a claw, and there are claws everywhere throughout the city, and Kalam has to kind of like, he knows it, and but he fights his way through. He gets to Lasine, and I love this because afterwards somebody like appears, I think it's Quickman appears, and is like, hey, I thought you were gonna go kill Lasine, and he's like, yeah, we had a talk, and like she's pretty chill, she just, and it's like, I love that. And he's like, I believe her, I believe her. She tells him all the stuff about Duiker, that she had to make this choice because of the Panion Domain and because they needed the power. She didn't have the power, and the Empire is just like constantly under threat of like crumbling around her, and she's like desperately trying to save it. And so then he gets that compassion, which is again a cool thing. He journeys through the desert as this. I think I don't know if he's a Wiccan, but I know he's a Seven Cities native, Kalam is. and he was on the ground. You know, he's one of the guys on the ground. He's one of the fucking grunts. He's the small town guy, and going to the corporate like master and being like, hey, fuck you, like, you know, you treated me bad. And then the person is like, dude, like, my life is fucking falling apart. like, do you see how fucked it is? Like, it's so fucked for me too. You do not want this. And so it gives Kalam some compassion. So it's cool we have that again, that whole compassion element of looking at the other that's in the high places and gaining some perspective. Anyway, we have Akarium and Mappo in this book, and I really like Akarium throughout the entire series. Every time he's on the page, my ears perk up. Mappo is a little dramatic, but I love him. I love his friendship. I love how his internal dialogue. He's always like, oh, friend, if you only knew what you'd done to all of these people that you killed and how you killed thousands of them and children and women and blood. And, you know, that's all this stuff. Anyway, let me talk about Mappo for just a second. Mappo is a Trell, and I think his name is Mappo Trell, or that's what you like. It'd be like if somebody called me John Human, you know. I think that's what's going on there. But and so his people were affiliated with the Nameless Ones, mysterious black shadows is what I picture them as, and they pick somebody to follow Akarium. That's their whole purpose, I'm pretty sure, to make sure that he doesn't get his memories, or if he does remember shit, that like the Guardian is supposed to stop. So they're basically like, we have chosen you, and you must be his eternal bro, and you really got to bro it out with him, and then you got to become actually his bro until you actually care, and then at that point you will want to stop him to save him, you know. That's not what they say, but that's what happens to Mappo, is he's like, oh, friend, you know. And when Akarium gets his memories, I think in the Azath house or something, sees his dad maybe, Mappo still follows him. And I think there's like an element of he's not supposed to like still show favor, or he's supposed to report it, or there's something, but he doesn't do that because he loves Akarium so much. And anyway, it's a beautiful little story. Definitely a cool thing. There's, you know, Fiddler and Absolar and Crocus in this, and they're kind of just going across the desert too, and dressing up as not Malazans so they don't die from whoever the fuck it is, maybe the Whirlwind people who are killing Malazans. And they kind of join up with Akarium and Mappo at some point, and then all of them end up, I think, in the Azath house. And there's some cool shit with the Azath house where like there's this floor, like the floor opens, it's just like eternal blackness. And okay, then there's Iskral Pusk too. I don't have too much to say about it, man. He's just like, he's funny. He's a funny guy. I like he's kind of like Krupp in that he's nuts, but you know, like his nuts mentality is what actually like grants him his like greatest power. He's a high acolyte of Shadow. Anyway, so Iskral Pusk is like sends them on a mission to find Tremorlore, which I don't know what Tremorlore is, guys. I'm sorry. I'm not. One thing at a time. And then they go into the Azath house. Is that the Deadhouse? It might be the Deadhouse. There's a Deadhouse in Malaz City. I know. I think they might end up there or something, or kind of seeing it. I don't know. Anyways, they're following the Path of Hands, which is like all these Soul Taken and the Soul Taken and the fucking Divers are going along this Path of Hands, and I just picture them like whales migrating through the sand, like, and they're fighting and fucking shit up, and they're shapeshifters, and they are going to Tremorlore because at Tremorlore they can become ascendants, is I guess what is going on there. And so Fiddler and Absolar encounter them, and it's some cool fantasy shit. Love it. I can't say too much more about it. I'm trying to think if I'm missing anything. Oh yeah, okay, at some point Krupp shows up. At least I think it's Krupp because the audiobook guy does the voice of Krupp. It's the same voice from Gardens of the Moon. Shows up with the Trigala Trade Guild through a warren that they just like come through a warren. They're like post delivery, and Krupp gives this thing to Coltaine. And he's like, use this in your last, your final, most desperate moment. And Coltaine's like, fuck you, I have awesome braids. And he gives it to Duiker because he's like, you'll probably need it because you're a historian and you got to tell the story. And so then Duiker has this, whatever it is. I feel like it's the Alice in Wonderland like thing, it says eat me. Like it's just your most desperate moment. You got to eat that and turn small or whatever. So through the chain of dogs, Duiker, the historian, is like, keeping tabs on watching it all and everything. And liking Coltaine, and he watches the nobility as they are being shitty. He punches the guy at one point, and then that guy ends up betraying Coltaine and Aaron, and they close their gates off. Aaron does, right when Coltaine and all his refugees get there, and they're like, nope, we cannot house you guys. We can't do it. That it's a lie. But they shut it off, and then these other people that have been killing Malazans, the rebellion, comes and corners them between the walls, and then I don't know if they crucify them or if it's the Aaron people that crucify them. That's where this shit gets confusing and get to me, where I'm like, whose side is who and whatever. But Duiker also gets crucified after he punches the guy who betrayed them. And Corbelow Dom is a Malazan guy who betrays them somehow. I don't fucking know. Pormqual is part of the rebellion, maybe with a mage, and then there's a noble guy who Duiker punches. Anyway, Duiker punches the guy, and then they crucify Duiker. And then at the end of the book, Coltaine, his soul goes up with ravens and ascends or something, and then he's dead, but Duiker is still alive because he had whatever the fuck Krupp gave to him, and these two minions of Krupp maybe come and take his body, and they're like, yes, he's still alive, all right, cool. Then anyway, Karam's lost his memories again, and he's wandering along with Mappo, and see you later. We'll see you next time that you're friending. And anyway, guys, I know that I have a lot of snark, and the only reason I have snark is because I don't know everything about this book. I fucking enjoy it. I enjoy the shit out of Malazan books. It's got the best fantasy shit in it ever. But there's so much packed in there that it gets a little overwhelming sometimes, and then all I can do is laugh at it so that I'm not laughing at myself. And hopefully at this point in the video you've developed enough compassion to understand that and feel, here, come to me, please. Yes, okay. Read Malazan Book of the Fallen. Peace.